And you know, we really were disrespected last year, and because one of your subsidiaries, Pacificor, has dams on the Klamath River that are creating toxic algae blooms, along with multiple other things. I won't go into it too far, but I just come here today with a principal agreement between you and I that you will sit down at the table and help us figure this out, help us make Pacificor accountable, and beings that I'm an indigenous American and you're a guest in my home as a European American, that you would do that in front of all your shareholders today in good faith, that you care, you know, as a philanthropist, and you care about, you know, helping, you know, third world countries, you know, fight poverty, disease, when you're helping create it right here in the United States.
You may not. Last year we read the order from, under which we acquired Pacific Corp, and actually, as you may know, I'm prohibited from actually making decisions in the area of Pacific Corp. That was part of the decision. That was part of the Public Utility Commission ruling when we bought it. But we have Dave Sokol here, who can speak to that. I think the first dam was built in 1907. And we bought Pacific Corp a couple of years ago. But David, if Dave could go to a microphone, I think he could address the issues that you brought up. I don't think we meant in any way to be disrespectful last year. Those of you who were here last year, that we may have a difference of opinion on this, and incidentally, there are strong differences of opinion, as I understand it, in your area about what should be done. And well, I think I should have Dave make the explanation on that.
Thanks, Warren. As you stated first, it would be inappropriate for Mr. Buffett to respond in any detail on this issue because as part of the acquisition in 2006 of Pacificor, he specifically agreed in writing not to interfere with any decisions of our regulated assets within Pacificor. So, having said that, these 4 dams that we operate on the Klamath River were built over the last 100 years. There are a whole series of issues in the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission relicensing process as to what should occur. These decisions through that regulatory process have been ongoing for 8 years, and they won't culminate for probably another 6. Having said that, there are 28 various parties from federal, state, and local agencies, Native Americans, fishery folks, local landowners that are party to a discussion as to what should or should not happen with these assets. And I left out the irrigators. Of those 28 parties, other than Pacificor, there are at least 4 different directions in which people think this process should go. From our perspective, we will be pleased to find a resolution when the 28 parties agree as to how that resolution should go forward, how it would be funded, etc. Fundamentally, it's up to the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, state and federal regulators in addition to them, and then our specific regulators in each of the 6 states that Pacificor operates in. So if public policy moves in the direction of dam removal, fish ladders, or maintaining the existing status quo, that would be the process in which we would go forward. We are working constructively with each of the various parties. We've met numerous times with each of the 4 tribes, and it's a complicated situation and one that hopefully over time a cooperative resolution could be met.
Familiar with the severe pollution issues in the Klamath River, such as the toxic algae problem that is 4,000 times allowable recreation levels, and that the fish are also now toxic due to the Klamath dams. I was wondering if familiar with the finances behind the Klamath dams. Many economic studies have shown that removing the Klamath dams would be up to hundreds of millions of dollars cheaper than relicensing them. So my question is, what would you do if Pacificor decided to keep these dams, even though it would mean that your shareholders would lose money in the long run, and that Pacificor's ratepayers would also be losing money?
Well, I think the question about the ratepayers will be addressed by the Public Utility Commissions. I mean, it is their job to represent the citizens of Oregon and weigh a number of different considerations. For example, clean energy. Do you want to replace hydro energy, which you're talking about, with coal, which emits carbons into the atmosphere? There are enormous trade-offs. Anytime the government gets involved in eminent domain, we have that with wind farms, for example, in Iowa. There's some people that are unhappy with us using the land for wind farms, but on the other hand, you get clean energy that way. And there are trade-offs involved in government policy. You get into that with the question of eminent domain, all of that sort of thing. But I think I'm going to let Dave talk to the question, the more technical questions you get into. But I would say overall, you have people with widely different interests. Obviously, a big interest is the cost of electricity. And to some extent, every public utility commission that makes a decision on gas versus coal versus wind versus solar is making a decision based partly on economics to their ratepayers, partly on their feelings about what is the best for society. And those commissions are appointed state by state to make those decisions. Now, in addition, in this case, we have the FERC, as it's called, the Federal Energy Regulation Commission, that will also have to rule on it. They will listen to everybody. They'll listen to you. They'll listen to the 28 others that Dave mentioned. In the end, we will do exactly what they say. I mean, as a public utility, if they tell us to not put up coal, we will not put up coal. If they tell us to put up wind, assuming that there's a place where there is wind, we will put up wind. We follow the dictates of the regulatory bodies that tell us what to do. And in the end, they give us a fair return on the assets employed, and we will get that return, whatever the assets may be. If they tell us to put in coal assets, we'll get a return on that. So from our standpoint, on the standpoint of profitability, it's neutral. From the standpoint of society, weighing all these different things, that's a decision society will make. But Dave, let's want to talk to the algae question.
Shareholders, my name is Richard Myers. I'm from Wichita, California. In respect to your opinion earlier, I will go down to Southern California, Arizona, and ask a question if you have knowledge or interest of the corridor for electricity coming in from Arizona into California, or is it going from California back into Arizona? As California is known as a sunny state, we should be able to have our own solar systems. I have one more. I have saved $20 by staying in line since 2:30 this morning, and I would like to know which one of these books that I could buy that would do me the most good and my tribe. Thank you.
Well, tell us about the books. You mean the whole list?
Which one I can buy for $20?
Probably the ones that haven't sold very well today. Yeah, I'm not that familiar with the prices of the books. We try to have a good selection in there. I'm a little partial to Larry Cunningham's book because it consists of a rewriting of all my own stuff. But no, I think the whole collection is. Well, I wouldn't want to recommend one over the other. And I know nothing about that first subject. Charlie, do you?
Well, I know a little. You know, California did cause coal plants to be built near the Grand Canyon because California didn't want the pollution and it needed the electricity, and they were near the coal mines. And eventually that caused huge uproar, a lot like we heard about the Klamath River, and the Grand Canyon had started having some visibility problems. And I think those things are maybe decommissioned or about to be decommissioned. So it's a very complicated subject, and I'm glad they put Klamath back to you.
Okay, number